Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we are taking on an absolutely massive topic. If you've ever looked at the economic and social landscape of India, you've definitely encountered an alphabet soup of acronyms and government programs that honestly can make your head spin. But today, we're decoding this vast ecosystem of developmental schemes derived straight from our source material. We're going to look at exactly how a nation builds the framework to support, uplift, and really propel its population forward. It is a completely fascinating look at governance on a totally unprecedented scale.
It really all comes down to this one fundamental question. How do you actually organize the growth of over 1 billion people? Just think about the sheer logistical nightmare of that for a second. You've got diverse geographies, totally varying levels of income, massive rural populations, and rapidly expanding urban centers. The extensive list of government programs we're analyzing today isn't just some random collection of ideas, right? It is a highly structured, strategic solution to a monumental, incredibly complex task.
So, to make sense of all of this, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the scope of government schemes. Then, financial inclusion and security, followed by empowering health and society, agriculture and rural development, and finally, building infrastructure and skills.
Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1. The scope of government schemes, basically the big picture framework. When you start aggregating these initiatives, you're faced with these massive umbrella programs like Digital India, the Smart Cities Mission, Stand Up India, and the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, which is all about making India self-reliant. It's almost overwhelming to see them clustered together, which really drives home the sheer scale of our source material. This is exactly why breaking things down into categories is absolutely crucial today, because without organizing these into structural pillars, you're basically just staring at a giant wall of information.
Moving right along to Section 2, Financial Inclusion and Security, or as I like to think of it, banking the unbanked.
Try to think of this foundational financial cluster as a citizen's sequential ladder of empowerment. First step, they get a basic bank account through the Jan Dhan Yojana. Once they're in the banking system, they can access a Mudra microloan under Mission Shakti to maybe start a small business. Now that they're earning an income, they secure their family with Jeevan Jyoti life insurance, and finally, look ahead toward old age by enrolling in the Atal Pension Yojana. It's a remarkably comprehensive safety net, built literally step by step.
Now notice the brilliance of the dual approach to financial security here. On one hand, there's the immediate necessity, programs like the Garib Kalyan Yojana that provide urgent welfare relief and put a hot meal on the table right now. But running perfectly parallel to that survival safety net are tools for growing long-term wealth, like the Senior Citizen Savings Scheme and the Kisan Vikas Patra. It's a highly organized strategy. Stabilize the population with short-term relief while simultaneously offering real vehicles for long-term financial growth.
It's actually pretty fascinating to see how specialized these financial instruments get once you move past the basics. You have the Gold Monetization Scheme, which aims to unlock the country's massive private gold reserves. Then there's NPS Vatsalya for youth pensions. But the PM SVAD scheme, that is a real game changer. It offers specialized collateral-free working capital loans specifically to street vendors, which formally recognizes them as the vital micro-entrepreneurs they truly are in the urban economy.
All right, let's transition into Section 3, Empowering Health and Society. This is where we really look at the human element.
This core grouping tackles human well-being from literally every angle. Ayushman Bharat acts as this massive healthcare access and insurance shield. The Bhartiya Janaushadhi Pariyojana pairs perfectly with that by providing high-quality generic medicines at affordable prices. Then you add in the Swachh Bharat mission and the National Mission for Clean Ganga, and what you get is a combined multi-pronged approach, making medical care accessible, keeping drugs affordable, and ensuring the physical environment and waterways are completely sanitary.
Within this broader societal pillar, there is a totally dedicated focus squarely on future generations. Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao focuses heavily on the survival, protection, and education of the girl child. Combine that with the midday meal scheme and Mission Poshan, which are massive nutritional interventions in schools and communities. It's a very structured effort to ensure kids are actually healthy enough to learn and that girls are actively protected and kept right there in the education system.
Of course, broader societal upliftment also means making absolutely sure marginalized communities aren't left behind in this growth story. And that's exactly what the Pradhan Mantri Janjatiya Unnat Gram Abhiyan does for targeted tribal village development. Couple that specific focus with the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which is the flagship affordable housing initiative, and the ultimate goal is clear:
securing the literal physical spaces where society lives, breathes, and develops.
So let's shift gears to Section 4, Agriculture and Rural Development. This is an absolutely crucial pillar for India's massive rural population.
When it comes to agricultural productivity, the strategy targets practically every point of vulnerability in the farming ecosystem. You've got the Fasal Bima Yojana acting as an insurance shield against unpredictable weather and crop failure. The Krishi Sinchai Yojana tackles the totally perennial challenge of farm irrigation and water access. Then, the Matsya Sampada Yojana pivots to diversify into fisheries and aquaculture, while PM Pranam focuses on the balanced use of fertilizers. It's a fully comprehensive ecosystem addressing risk, water, diversification, and soil health.
But, agriculture doesn't just exist in a vacuum. It requires fundamental resources. Look at how the government pairs the management of these crucial rural necessities. There's a huge push for sustainable groundwater management through the Atal Bhujal Yojana and the National Water Mission. And this is perfectly paired with the energy required to access that water and just live better day to day, like the PM Kusum Yojana, distributing solar pumps to farmers, and the Ujalalo Yojana, providing clean cooking fuel to rural households to remove their reliance on hazardous traditional fuels.
Which brings us to our final pillar, Section 5, Building Infrastructure and Skills, Scaling the Economy.
To really scale an economy like this, human capital is just as vital as physical concrete. There is a massive, highly targeted push for nationwide skill development and job creation. We have the Kaushal Vikas Yojana and the overarching Skill India initiative, which are designed to train millions of youth in market-relevant skills. The PM Vishwakarma Yojana steps in to provide end-to-end support specifically for traditional artisans and craftspeople. And the PM Viksit Bharat Rozgar Yojana, it incentivizes employers to go out and create those new jobs. This is the exact machinery designed to fuel growth by giving the population the precise skills the modern economy demands.
And, well, to support that newly skilled workforce, you need the hard physical arteries of an economy. The PM Gati Shakti Yojana is fascinating because it's this massive master plan designed to seamlessly integrate multimodal connectivity, ensuring roads, railways, and ports all work together so goods actually move efficiently. Then on the power side, you've got the PM Surya Ghar Yojana for solar rooftops, the Ujjala Yojana for nationwide LED distribution to drastically cut energy consumption, and the Ujjwal Discom Assurance Yojana, a financial turnaround package for power distribution companies. It's all about generating power efficiently, using it smartly, and moving services faster.
We've covered some truly incredible ground today. From the foundational safety nets of financial inclusion to the sprawling infrastructure connectivity plans, we've organized a massive scope of information into really clear, logical pillars. Seeing it all laid out like this makes the strategy behind the scale pretty undeniable. But it leaves us with a totally fascinating final thought. With all of these frameworks now solidly in place, from agriculture to digital skills, which sector will ultimately drive the next decade of growth? That is for sure the question to watch. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll see you next time.